Okay, let's get going then. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name's Ant Parsons from ALP Synergy Limited, and we're delivering the Nature Secure and Nature Smart projects on behalf of the Natural Environment Research Council, NERC, who are part of UK Research and Innovation UCRI. I'm delighted tonight, I'm very excited to be introducing Nadeem Perera, who is a really cool wildlife TV presenter, author, and activist. I didn't know who he was a couple of months ago. Started following him on Instagram, and he's having so much fun in nature. So I'm delighted that he's going to be here tonight sharing his story. I'm going to shut up and hand over to you then, Nadeem.
Oh, thank you very much, Ant. And yeah, thank you for having me. And it's always great to be able to exchange stories and have great discussions around nature. It's just a huge privilege to be able to do that in any capacity, let alone a lovely setting like this. So thank you, Ant, and thank you all for joining, everybody present at the moment. So I guess I'll just straight into it, and I'll talk a little bit about my story for a little bit, just to give some of you some context into who it is that I am and what it is that I do. And then after that, I'll open it up and you can ask questions, we can have a discussion, and yeah, we'll just open it up. So my name's Nadeem Perera. I present on Wildlife TV. I'm an author, believe it or not. Somehow I've ended up being an author. Um, I'm a youth football coach as well. I'm also a cultural strategist. I run a creative studio, which is focused on telling nature stories through culture. I'm also the co-founder of the first ever birdwatching group for Black and Brown people in the UK called Flock Together. That's on Instagram, flocktogether.world, and follow us up. And I've always loved nature. So I think the most appropriate place for me to start for my story will be at the start. And I'll detail how it is that someone from my background came to be involved in nature, and hopefully that can inspire some thought for discussion later. So I'm from East London, Council Estate, East London, which is it's an interesting place to grow up. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking like I used to live on a tower block, a really small flat. But something that is really prominent in my memory, even from that really early age. I'm talking as young as maybe 3 years old, was the pigeons. I would have pigeons on my balcony. Even in this urban jungle, in this concrete jungle, there was still nature thriving. And even from such a young age, I connected with those pigeons. And I'm also half Sri Lankan, half Jamaican. So I'm born and raised in East London, but my mum is from Sri Lanka, my dad's from Jamaica. My mum's from Sri Lanka, my dad's from Jamaica. And I was lucky enough to be taken to Sri Lanka year after year, every summer. It's something that my mum made a point of doing. And I don't know if anyone here has ever been to Sri Lanka. Like, feel free to type in the chat as well as I'm going. Like, let's be as interactive as possible. But Sri Lanka is just one of those places that you cannot escape from nature. It's not about, similar to what I'm describing in London, really, if you look hard enough, but it's not about, oh, let's go out and see some nature. It's the nature's in the front room, whether we want it to be or not. You know what I'm saying? It's like every evening you look at the walls and there's geckos. Every single evening, no matter whether you're in a five-star hotel or you're in the village of villages, and I've spent a lot of time in both, there are geckos on the walls. Do you get what I'm saying? You just can't escape it. It's one of those places where you might go to the toilet in the middle of the night and see a snake that can end your life, like on the way to the toilet. It's that kind of place. B has just said, sadly, never been to Jamaica. The even sadder thing, B, is I've never been to Jamaica as well. I've been culturally raised as a Sri Lankan. So do with that as you will. Maybe there's a trip in it for us to go. Sri Lanka is also one of them places where it's like you hang the washing out and there's monkeys 5 minutes later running around, throwing your clothes all over the place. It's just that kind of place. Very special, incredible biodiversity, and an insane amount of endemic species that you will find nowhere else in the world. And I loved it. I really, really loved it. As someone who probably was just a little bit nature inclined anyway, going to somewhere like Sri Lanka really ignited that interest in me, even from a very, very, very small age. So what happened as a result of that was I'd come back to London, and I'm like, I'm wondering, where's all the wildlife in London? Why can I not see any animals? Like, where there are no geckos on the walls. There's none of this stuff I became accustomed to seeing in Sri Lanka. And that's when I realized it is there. I just have to look a little bit harder, you know? So I'm like, I don't know how familiar people are with London, but the area of East London I grew up in is called the Docklands. There's proper Cockney country. For my sins, I'm a West Ham fan. Yeah, I don't know if there's any football fans in here, but I'm a West Ham boy. And but the Docklands is a massively industrial area. Historically, has always been that as well. And but before it was as built up as it was today, when it was just factories, there was a lot of desolate land. And as I began to inspect that land a little bit closer, and by inspect, I mean peer out the window as my mum drove past this desolate land, I would notice rabbits, I would notice foxes, I would notice badgers in industrial East London, believe it or not, in early 2000s. Oh, I'm giving away my age there as well. I'm still a young guy. I'm still a young guy. But these are the things I was seeing, and I really just connected with it massively. And I spent the rest of that part of my childhood, namely like the primary school age, having a really keen interest in nature, in wildlife, consuming all the media, Steve Irwin, Steve Backshall. There was an American dude called Jeff Corwin on TV back in the day. He was cold as well. If you don't, I see a wide range of ages present on the call today. If you don't know about Jeff Corwin, do some homework on Jeff Corwin. He was serious. I loved him. And of course, like David Attenborough, you know. So I just gravitated towards that media, and I loved it so much. But then came secondary school, and let's not forget a very key part of this story. I'm from the ghetto, okay? So I went to school in the ghetto, okay? And so school was as much about survival as it was getting grades. Yeah, that's a very fair thing to say. And being a nature nerd was not conducive to survival in my school. It just wasn't. You weren't going to make it very far of showing an interest in nature. So what happened as a result of that was that interest, I parked it off. I just put it to the back seat, and I put on this little front, you know, of being like half a rude boy, you know, because it was just a matter of survival. That's what I had to do. Do you know what I'm saying? So carried on through life, through secondary school, doing that. And let me think about this carefully. How do I describe this? After an interesting relationship with the education system, I was politely asked to discontinue my attendance at the school. Okay, I was politely asked, and I begrudgingly accepted this generous offer from my school. And what happened was, as a result of that, while all my friends were in school, I would be sat with not much to do. And by the time I was asked to leave, my mum had moved me from the ghetto in inner city industrial East London in the Docklands. She had moved me to the London Essex suburbs. So again, I don't know how familiar people are, but we're talking about areas like Barkingside, Woodford, these kind of areas. And it was a lot more green. So when I was sat there, not in school, all my mates from Essex were in school, but I was a bit too far away to go by public transport back to the hood to meet my friends that also weren't in school. So what happened as a result of that, I would be in Essex, sat around with not much to do at the age of 15. And I'm seeing some young people in here, and I'm seeing some people that were young once as well. And I'm sure you can relate to this. It was like that moment in my life, that period of my life, proper sticks with me and motivates me to do what I do today, because what I noticed was for so many reasons, my life had taken me in a particular direction, and it caused me to feel really overwhelmed. It caused me to feel very confused about the direction of my life. And it caused me that is a big reason for my disengagement with the actual learning that was being asked of me in school. But despite all of these problems, all of these issues I was facing as an individual, I had people constantly telling me, well, you've got to decide what you have to do. You have to know what you have to do because you need to get this grade, because you need to go to this university, and then you need to go and get this. And I'm like, I'm trying to survive getting through this day. And you guys are talking about 10 years from now, 15 years from now, these decisions. That was something that couldn't compute with me. And like I said, I'm a youth football coach. I've been a youth football coach for about 7 years now. And it's something I always tell all the young people that I work with is I'm never going to tell young people don't go to school, okay? Go to school. Yeah, go to school. But what I will say is that if school isn't your jam and you're not taking to it as well as some of your peers, that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It means there's something wrong with the system. Human beings are individuals, human beings are complex, and human beings aren't made at 21. We are still human beings from the day we are born. Even in that confusing teenage period, we're still human beings. But the difference with a teenager is that we're exploring who it is that we are. We're still trying to figure out who we are. So I was in a headspace where I'm trying to figure out who I am, but I'm having people pressure me and trying to pressure me to fit inside what they think I should be doing. And I didn't vibe with that at all. So as a result, when I wasn't in school, I was walking around green spaces because my mum had moved me to a slightly more rural area. And what I found in these green spaces, there was one particular moment that I will never, ever forget. And it's a story I've told a million times, and one I will never get bored of telling because it was so impactful for me. There was a graveyard not far from my house where I lived in Essex, and I stumbled upon it one day when I during school hours, and for the first time in my life, first ever time in my life, I experienced a space where I could just be myself. No one was asking me to do anything. No one was asking me to be anything. No one wanted anything from me. I was just allowed to be there, totally myself, no matter how that looked. Even if I wasn't in a great place, no one was judging me for it. I was just totally allowed to be there. And I really, really, really took to that. I took to it like a fish to water. I absolutely loved that space. And I was sat down on this bench because for the first time I was allowed to think without being pushed and pulled in all these different directions. And I'm sat on this bench now, and no more than 2 meters away from me lands what I would come to learn was a green woodpecker. So at the time I didn't know the species exactly, but I knew enough to tell it was a woodpecker. It had a really strong beak, and it was just like, it had a red cap. It did look low key a bit like Woody Woodpecker. Do you know what I'm saying? So I was like, yeah, I know what that is. So I sat there and I looked at it, and like I said, I was going through really difficult times, such difficult times. And what really struck me about that bird was its beauty. First and foremost, it was its beauty. It was the grass green plumage with the red cap, with the striking black mask on its face. I thought it must be a rare bird. I thought it has to be so rare, such a beautiful thing. And then I realized it's such a beautiful thing that was on my doorstep that was costing me nothing, costing me absolutely nothing. And this happened to me at a time where I believed nothing beautiful was for me. Nothing beautiful was to happen for me. And that bird really showed me that there are beautiful things out there, and they are accessible to me, and I can go and experience them in a time where I thought that wasn't possible. So what I did was, and you know, another thing was I loved the perspective that the woodpecker gave me, because while I'm sitting there feeling sorry for myself on this bench, like, oh, it's so hard being a teenager, being 15. Oh, what am I going to do? This woodpecker couldn't have cared less. It was just sat there in front of me, sifting through the grass, looking for ants. If you don't know, the green woodpecker's favorite food is ants. And it was just sat there on the grass, sifting through ants. And I just thought, wow, well, if he can just crack on, I can just crack on as well. Like these problems, it just really knocked everything into perspective. So what I did was I had a camera at the time. I ran home, grabbed my camera, and I came back to the exact same bench and sat down, hoping it would come back. And it did. It came back, and I got some photos of it. I don't have those photos now. I wish I had that visual aid for this story, but I don't have those photos now. Um, and that would, and I took the photos, and then that interest in the woodpecker turned into what else is here? And then we had cherry blossoms in that graveyard. Then I saw the flocks of long-tailed tits. And then in the guttering of the church in the graveyard, I saw kestrels nesting, which I thought was an eagle at the time. I thought it was an eagle. I was like, but I could recognize it was a bird of prey. Kestrel's a falcon. I now know, by the way, guys, just to put that out there. And before I knew it, I was leaving my house to go and look for birds because it made me feel better than any other environment, let alone classroom environment. Yeah. And I carried on, and then I remember my girlfriend at the time bought me my first ever bird guide. It was the Collins first edition bird guide, which I still have right there. I can see it from where I'm sat. And I just started going out looking for birds, and it was fantastic. And it allowed me to think about my life, strategize, allowed me to identify the things that were holding me back, and it allowed me to also identify the things that could elevate me. And that was so priceless, so priceless. And I prioritize spending time in those spaces more than anything else, anything else. And it got to the point and that evolved eventually to where I'm getting to my late teens, and I've really now left my troubles behind. Yeah, I've left my troubles behind. But what that means is, and I think a lot of people don't quite appreciate this part of my journey, is if all you've known is troubles, when you leave them behind, you now have to figure out what you do next, right? It's like if you spend all of your time playing football and then you decide your legs break or something, or you decide to move on from football, you then have to figure out what it is that you do next. And Richmond Park was another place that really helped me get that direction of where I was going next. And I spent a lot of time in Richmond Park. I could talk for another session just about my time in Richmond Park, but I won't bore you with that. But I'd say if you've not visited Richmond Park, visit it. It is a special place in the city of London that I didn't think nature of that scale, of that beauty could exist in London. And yet there it is. So do visit. So anyway, I've continued my life. I'm trying to be a normal member of society. And I'm slowly getting there, but with bird watching as this background activity. And then I pick up, and in this newfound strategy of exploring different directions, I realized bird watching is definitely one. I also realized football coaching is one, because surprise, surprise, I wanted to be a footballer when I was a kid. But I got to my early 20s and I realized that ship had sailed. But the next best thing was to be a coach. And I started coaching football. And that, honestly, I say this, I'm so blessed in my life to do all of the things I do today, which I will get onto in a minute. But still to this day, football coaching is my favorite. I'm outside, I'm in green spaces, I can still watch birds, I get to enjoy football, and I get to boss people around. It's fantastic. It's really just a great, fantastic combination. So I'm football coaching, and then we hit lockdown 2020. Hands up if you remember the lockdown. Some of you might not even be old enough to remember the lockdown. Hands up if you remember the lockdown. Everybody remembers that. It was a tough and challenging time. And I remember that if you do remember well enough, we weren't allowed to go out in groups. We weren't allowed to go out in groups during lockdown. So what I resorted to doing was one-to-one sessions with some of my young players. And there was one such session where I finished it, and I've started chatting with the dad afterwards, just having a little chinwag. And the guy is a graphic design lecturer at Ravensbourne Uni, which is like an arts uni. And he's just a mentor, a natural born mentor. So he was always one of these guys, Nadeem, you've got so much potential, man. Like, you can go and do more, man. Da, da, da. And he was like, there's this guy called Ollie who you've got to follow because he came and gave a talk at my uni and he's great. He's a creative director. He's a genius, man, this, that, and the other. I was like, all right, well, you're talking him up a lot. Let me follow him. So I followed him on Instagram. Looked through his profile. He seemed a bit artsy for my liking, but whatever. Cool, I'll trust your judgment. You're the arts guy, not me. 2 days later now, I'm on Instagram and I see Ollie's stories popping up. So I've clicked on it and I'm seeing birds. I'm seeing pied wagtail, grey wagtail, and a coot. So he was on the waterways in London. So I've just because I'm thinking this guy's supposed to be fashion artsy guy. What the hell is he doing posting about birds? So I've just responded to each story, naming the species of bird that he's looking at. And then Ollie hits me back straight away, really sharp. Ollie's a very sharp guy, which I've learned from the first interaction with him. He responded straight away and he goes, bro, how do you know this? And I said, well, bro, I'm an avid bird watcher. I've been doing it for about 13 years by this point. And he was like, bro, no way. No way, no way. I've had this idea for ages to make a bird watching club for black and brown people. I said to him, Ollie, I am a black and brown bird watcher. I said, there is no idea more perfectly fitted to who I am than the one you've just described to me. I'm in. So we got aligned in that way. And then we knocked up our first flyer. And for all his creative prowess, this first flyer was so dreadful, that I would never let Ollie live this down. It looked like it was done on Microsoft Paint. It was bad. And that first walk, we got 15 people out on the first walk. Now, I'm going to open it up briefly. That was back in 2020. May of 2020 was our first walk, 15 people. Going into 2026, we've been going 6 years, nearly 6 years. Who wants to take a guess at the numbers we've pulled in on average in our last few walks? Just unmute yourselves and shout it out. It's not school. You can just shout.
We've got numbers in the chat, 40, 50. I reckon you're looking at 250, Nadeem.
Yeah, so the answer is not 40. The answer is not 250. The answer is about 300. We're getting about 300 people out every single month in the name of bird watching. And I'd like, it's incredible to get that many people out every single month, especially black people. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. Like to get them out on a Sunday morning is something. It's a feat. But what we realized was, me and Ollie were like, what is this? Why are we like? We knew it was a cool idea, but we did not expect this level of success, because by the third walk, we were on like 60 people, and we were like, man, this is connecting way more strongly than either of us anticipated. And we realized that it was needed. We realized that it was so needed in our community long before the lockdown. The lockdown just exacerbated it, but there was a big hunger and appetite within our community that wasn't being met, and we just came up with a solution. And then that led to the question for us: well, what was missing before? Why did we come along and solve that problem? Why wasn't it being done before? And the answer for that is, I don't know if anyone's seen what Flock Together does, but I really think if you look at now any outdoor brands, we're talking Salomon, we're talking North Face, we're talking Patagonia, Arc'teryx, any top level brand, outdoor wear brand you can think of now, Flock Together has done. We have worked with them, we have featured with them, and we've curated ideas and cultural moments with them, all in the name of this nature thing. And that's what we realized. Before we came around, all of the messaging, when it came to nature, whether that's through brands, whether that's through nature organizations, whether that's through charities, it was all of the messaging was excluding our community. We weren't present in that space at all. And all we did was get our community out, take some pictures of black and brown people in a green space with binoculars. People had never seen it before. Now it's become the norm 6 years on, but we were really the figureheads in that movement, the what's the word? The cultural landscapers. We were really the landscapers in that shifting culture, and that's something we really, really held dear to our chest. And so what we then realized is that so nature communication was the issue there. How we communicate nature is the real issue. So I'm gonna test out a little, not test out, I've tested this exercise out many times, and I'm gonna do it here as well. If we are thinking about messaging and how we can evolve it, how we can kick it on to reach a demographic, not necessarily black and brown people here. It can be inclusive of black and brown people, not necessarily. If we're thinking about how we can communicate nature to a more broad audience, how we package it is very key to that. So the exercise I do, I've done this with young people as young as 5 years old. I've done this with people that are older. I've done this with people that are older. What we're going to do is it's a collective exercise, it's a group exercise. We're all going to sit here now and we're going to imagine that we all have this green space. It's a huge green space with incredibly diverse habitats. We've got some freshwater systems, we've got some woodland systems, we've got some meadowland, we've got all of these great systems that support biodiversity, but no one knows about it. Nobody knows about it. So my first thing is, what are some things that we can place inside our national park that are going to attract new audiences? Because we've realized that it's a term that I use called cross-pollination. We learn that when it comes to communicating nature, because we are all here, I'm assuming, because we love nature anyway. As long as our memory goes back, we all love nature. But as a coach of teenage boys for a number of years, if someone isn't interested in nature, it's really hard to convince them that this goldfinch is really amazing. Like it just doesn't connect. So that's where cross-pollination comes in. So an example I'll give you is I went to I don't know how familiar people are with football clubs, but there's a football club in London called Queen's Park Rangers. Massive football club. I went over to the Queen's Park Rangers Academy and took their under-18s team out for a bird walk around their training ground. If you look me up on socials, you can find that video, you can find that work we did. The young players absolutely loved it. They loved it because if I took them to, I met them where they were at. That's the way I should put it. I met them where they were at. They were already engaged in a space. All I did was harness a bit of creativity and brought the nature message into their world, which is what the purpose of this exercise is. So what can we put in our collective green space that is going to cross-pollinate cultures? It could be anything that's going to draw new audiences. I'm going to give you guys 1 minute to think about that. And we'll come back in 1 minute and everybody can share what they think would draw new audiences. So starting from now. And to give you some inspo, when I did this with some kids, one of the kids said a cheese shop. We had a kid say a swimming pool, which I thought was quite fun. Football pitch we had definitely as well. A sauna. I've had a mum say a sauna as well. So these are some inspo. This is just a little bit of inspo. We've just got 30 seconds left, and I'll let you think for the remaining time. Oh, I'm seeing some good ideas being sent through. Douglas, I like that idea. All right, and we got 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay. Who wants to share first? I'm gonna encourage people to speak first, but if people aren't totally comfortable with speaking, I can start reading out. But I see Jonah's unmuted himself.
Yeah, I'll go. I was thinking because like a lot of my work is with young dads and young families, So I'd definitely say like some sort of playground, but whether it's in the traditional sense of a playground or something of a bit more of an open offer of a playground. And then attached to that sort of an activity center, which could be like come forest schooly thing as well.
Mhm.
To try and encourage people, I think, as well to like make stuff to put within the space.
Yeah, yeah. Stuff like what? Stuff like what?
So like bird boxes, tree planting, a bit of seed bombing is always good. And
Hmm.
bikes. Bikes is always good. Like just a free bike center where people can rent bikes for free.
Yeah, nice. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like the free. I like the free. And what I'll say is, if you are going to share, guys, just start with your name and what it is that you do to give us a bit of context as well. But thank you for sharing, Jonah. I love that. I love that. Thank you. Anyone else? Just start talking, guys. You don't have to put your hands up. I see Liz.
There's
Liz, you
free
got...
gyms you get, the outside gyms,
Oh
but you
yeah,
could do
the
it with
outside
wood and
gym. Yeah.
natural sort of stuff.
Go on. Keep going. Keep going. I like it.
I was going to say something similar to Jonah, but from the mum, like, well, it wouldn't necessarily be mums, but some kind of buggy group where everyone meets with the buggies and the babies in the buggy, gets out, gets some fresh air,
There
enjoys
you
their
go.
surroundings.
There you go. I like it. I like it. I'm sensing a coffee shop is a natural follow-on from that. I'm getting a sense of that. A little bakery with a coffee shop. I think that's a natural progression for that one. And I'd be all over that. I'd love that. Anyone else?
I'm thinking we get the Jacket Potato Man. I can't remember what city he was in, but he became famous on Instagram and Facebook last year. He was all over the news. So
You
we
mean
get,
the one that's on TikTok and that?
yeah. So we get him to
Yeah.
bring his, because he could go into every national park in the country.
Yeah. I think that's a fantastic idea. I think you're onto something serious there, and you should put that to someone.
Someone
Big
important.
draw. Someone said, well, let's get the chat up. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. Someone said, Jen says, hello, Jen. Someone said, Jen said, my mic is blocked and I can't figure out how to unmute. But ice creams. Yes, ice creams. I love ice creams. I love the idea. What flavor of ice creams would you have, Jen? What flavor? B says, anything relatable to their lives they may enjoy and never thought they'd find in nature. Like what, B? I love that thought. But let's round it off. Like what? A mud kitchen from Vic Hughes. Vic Hughes, I love the sound of a mud kitchen. I don't know what that is, bro. You need to explain.
It's on the like playground sort of thing. So it's basically you get messy, they can pick up mud, more of a children thing, but
like when kids make their potions. Yeah,
yeah.
right. I've got you. I like that. Something like a coffee shop to draw people in. I was gonna say a sauna too, as they're popular right now. Park run is a great one. Yeah, the first one that Douglas put in was a park run. I think that's really good, and I think Douglas, you're onto something there as well, because as a result of Flock Together's success, there have been a lot of other groups that have popped up to represent like marginalized communities, and running is a massively accessible and now popular activity that's popping up in the natural green spaces in the natural world. So I think that's fantastic. Any more? Can we get one more? Oh, Jen's got Woodland School, though this is more active than passive, as in would need someone to lead it. Well, I think we've got a bunch of leaders in this chat right now, so I think that's great. So yeah, these are all fantastic ideas, and it's good. Now I'm getting the sense that we're starting to think a little bit more beyond the traditional, beyond what's already being laid out. How are we going to draw more people in and get more people to care about nature and start stewarding these green spaces and really caring for it? So fantastic work, guys. Now, the final part of this exercise before I open it up for any questions and we can have a back and forth discussion rather than me just nattering at you, is once we have our product now. The product is this green space that is incredibly biodiverse, that has a coffee shop, that has a sauna, that has a mud kitchen, that has an outdoor playground and a free bike shed. It's fantastic. I would go there. But now we need to communicate it to people. Now we have the product, we have to communicate it. But the first level of communication is it's got to have a name. This place has got to have a name. And now I'm going to lay down some parameters, okay? Some rules. It can't have the word nature in it. It can't have the word green in it. and it can't have the word wild in it. Okay, no wild, no nature, no green. You got to think of a snappy, catchy, hooky name that's going to represent what we're trying to achieve here. And I'm going to give you guys 1 more minute starting from now to have a think about that. And I'm trying to remember any funny names that I've had from previous times we've done this. The names have evaded me. The names have evaded me. But we got 30 seconds left. 30 seconds left. And don't feel shy about sharing. We're not going to shame anyone for their ideas. We're just going to celebrate them all. All the ideas are good ideas, guys. We can develop all of them. Tranquil me. Lisa Phipps has said tranquil me. We've got 5 seconds left. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, so any ideas? Any ideas? Like I say, we're gonna have I'm encouraging people to speak first, and then we can go to the chat and start reading up.
I think we get inspired by you. We should have a color in it. So can we use the word green?
No,
We can't have
definitely
green.
no.
Oh,
Typically said no green, no green, no green, no wild, no nature.
okay. I'd call it the grill space because everyone likes food and everyone likes barbecues. So if you come here and have some social time, then you can.
See, that's and there's a reason. Dude, you got some good ideas there. Grilling is an outdoor activity. A nature space with a grill on it is fantastic. That's a brilliant idea. I would definitely attend that. Definitely attend. As long as all the food available is sustainably sourced, I would attend. I would attend.
That's a trick. That's tricky. So we're just eating what?
Grilled cauliflower.
Berries and cauliflower, yeah, from the trees.
But I like it. I like it. Grill space. Grill space is cool. I like it. Anyone else?
We've got in the chat, we've got our space, we've got your space, my space.
We've got Douglas. Douglas is unmuted. Douglas is ready.
Yeah, why don't we just go for Wanderlust? Something like that.
Wanderlust. I like it. I like it. What's your thinking behind Wanderlust?
Well, if you could tie in with the people from Parkrun, then you could have or run an event at the end of this, because it's going to Park Walk. There are lots of people walking with pushchairs and buggies at the end of the Parkrun. So rather than everybody sort of leaving then after the 100 or 200 people have got together to run 5K, you're trying to let's go and wander together at the end of this, and then go and see what we can see. And if you've got someone who's able to act as a guide, to look at the local area and then provide the highlights of what you can see in that area.
Douglas, I think that's my favorite idea so far, because what you're describing there now is you're thinking in terms of an ecosystem. You're thinking about what already exists. How can we build on top of what already exists to benefit what is that we're trying to do? That is incredible strategy. That's my favorite one so far. Good stuff. Wanderlust. I love it. I love it. Anyone else? Anyone else? Before we go to the chat. Don't be shy, guys. Don't be shy. I can see Jess. Jess, you look like a young person, and I'm gonna put you on the spot now. What you got? What you got, Jess? What you got? We want to hear from all ages. We want to hear from all ages.
Nothing really creative, but I kind of like the word you used earlier, but like saying like epic ecosystems or something.
Yeah, I like it. Epic is always a great word. One of the biggest gaming companies in existence right now is called Epic Games. So Epic Ecosystems is great. That's a good name, and that is very creative. That is very creative. Don't talk yourself out of credit. Take the credit. Next time you've got to say, I've got the best creative idea, Epic Ecosystems. That's brilliant, Jess. Thank you very, very much. All right, in the chat, we've got Tranquil Meats. I like that. I like Tranquil Meats. That could also be a name for a grill, to be honest. That's great. Wanderlust, yes, like that. Douglas, your idea is popular. Your space, my space. I like it. fringing a little bit on MySpace's territory, even though it's a folded company. Some of us are old enough to remember MySpace. Our Space, I like. Our Space seems to be popular. Space for Space seems to be a common theme. I like it. I like it. So, guys, the point of that exercise was just to start thinking a little bit more outside of the box in terms of nature communication. And the reason for doing that is because Flock Together was massively successful is because we redefined what it meant to be a nature person. It doesn't have to be khaki gilet, khaki trousers, and you know, like heavy walking boots. We go out in some of the some of the biggest drip known to man. We go out there dripped up in our droves, and we still have the same enthusiasm and passion for wildlife and nature as the person that is in khaki. There's no beef. There's no issue with people that do that. All I'm saying is that we can present an alternative access point into what it means to be a nature person. So thank you very much for taking part in that. And I'm definitely going to reference some of these ones in our next. So thank you very much, guys. I really enjoyed it. And I guess we've got just under 15 minutes left. So I'm really happy to open it up and answer any questions that you guys may or may not have.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Questions then? Questions, thoughts, ideas, inspirations?
I've got a question. I can start. So I was thinking more about your story from where you grew up and then moved into an area where you have more green spaces and more opportunities to engage with nature. How do we engage with the communities that don't feel like they have access to green spaces or don't see them?
That's a great question. The answer is speak to Flock Together. That is the answer. It's a great question, and it's a question that comes up a lot from various people because everybody wants to know the answer. And the answer is, if you want to speak to a people, you have to understand their language. I think I'm an ambassador for the RSPB. I'm an ambassador for the Wildfire and Wetlands Trust, and I'm waiting for the WWF to make me an ambassador, but I'm just very good friends with the WWF as well. And for so long, those organizations and many others have tried to gain access to those people, to have their message reach those people, like in recent times anyway, and they've not been successful. But they are starting to now see success because the RSPB is a great example because now they, as opposed to before, it was like, oh, Nadeem and Ollie, why don't you come and feature in this piece that we're going to do? And then they take some cool photos of us, share the photos, and think that's job done. But it's not connecting with anyone. But now their approach is different. And now they're saying, Nadeem and Ollie, how can this is what we want to achieve. Here is the platform. Here is the autonomy and the resource for you guys to package this and do it and speak the language that we can't speak. And so the short answer to your question is, if you want to reach those people, you need to consult the people that are from that world, that understand that world and the language that is spoken. And for my creative studio here at Hyena, that's exactly what we do. Brands, organizations that want to speak to urban communities, to more street guys or whatever you want to call it, they understand that I speak that language very well. And I've got a track record that proves that. You know, last year, I think I'm in 2025, I wrote four reels for massive organizations, and we reached like over 6 million views across just those 4 films. And I did more than that, but just in the most popular 4, over 6 million views. And that wasn't me talking about the latest celebrity breakup or what's going on Love Island or anything like that. That was me talking about birds. That was me talking about wildlife and nature, but I'm doing it in a way that's connecting with people. So to answer your question again and just round it off in a nice, clean little pellet, if you want to speak someone's language, hire a native speaker. That's it. That's it.
I'm going to have to go and look up and find out what dripped up means because I haven't got a clue.
Dripped up, that just means that. Hey, and that's a good question. Dripped up means. Wait. I want to be curious to know. Does anyone else here know what dripped up means?
No.
Go on, Jonah. Go on, Jonah. Go
My
on,
son
Jonah.
is always saying he's looking drippy. It's so drip.
Yeah. Go on, Jonah.
I think like your drip is what you go out in. So it's like you get, if you're wearing good nice clothes, that'd be your drip. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, that's it. It's like it's your style, it's your swag, it's the clothes you put on. It's like it's your drip. And if so, you're looking good. If you're going out in good drip, someone's gonna come to you and say, "Right, you're dripping. You dripping." And that's how I step in nature. Every time I'm dripping. Every time I'm dripping. Even in the middle of summer, I'm dripping. Good question, and good question. Thank you. Any other questions? I got maybe in the chat. No more in the chat. Any other questions from anyone?
I have a question, if that's okay. Thank you so much for sharing your experience. It's really, really inspiring. So, well, I have a couple of questions actually. So, I think you mentioned that in high school you had to park your interest for wildlife and bird watching and just, to focus on other things. I wonder what might have helped you at that point to continue that connection. Was it because you felt alone? Was it because you felt that you were not getting any support from teachers or from, I don't know, your surroundings? I'm just curious about that, in case you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, no, I don't mind. That's a fantastic question. No one's ever asked me that question before, so I've not really thought about it. That's a great question. Thank you for asking it. Off the cuff, my answer would be, I think the reason I didn't was just a total lack of structure. In an under-supported community, you'd be surprised at how deep the lack of resources and support goes. So it's like, it's easy to say, okay, this kid is bad. Why is this kid bad? Oh, this kid is bad because the teachers are making him feel bad. Well, why are the teachers making him feel bad? Because the teachers are not getting paid enough. Why are the teachers not getting paid enough? Because this borough is underfunded. Do you get what I mean? It's like it runs really, really deep. And I think that's the main cause of it. I really do. And it's very different now, like some of the kids that I coach now, that's why I do what I do now. You've just brought me to a brilliant thought. That's why I do what I do now, because I coached for 5 years in Hackney. Yeah, with some kids that from very similar backgrounds to me, worse than me, a lot of them. And I make sure when I'm coaching football, I'm not just coaching football, I'm coaching life. I'm coaching life, and I'm telling them, you don't need to get upset about this thing. You don't need to let this small thing ruin your whole day. Let's have a bit of emotional regulation. And one big thing that we used to do when I lived in Hackney, and I miss those boys so much, and I can't believe they're 16. I met them when they were 9. And but when we didn't have a game, we'd go for a 5K run around Hackney Downs Park. And every time we're going around, I would say, whoever can recognize the most bird calls is going to get a fiver from me. Is going to get £5 from me. Do you get what I'm saying? And that was something that changed the dynamic and added an extra. That was something I wish someone did for me. And I think if I had had that, I may have continued that support. But equally, because I didn't have that, I mean, I am who I am today. So would I change it? Probably not. But that is probably what would have prevented me from putting that to the back.
That's really, really interesting. I think it's brilliant that you found that self-motivation. So it's really interesting to know, because a lot of people, are not in a position to find that self-motivation. And, when you're sat in a bench and then look at the birds around you and all that. So yeah, that's excellent to know. And yeah, so I think it's really important to find that support there. And it's, let's not assume that it has to come just from you. It's just that perhaps that wedge or just that introduction from other people. So no, thank you. That's brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And just you know what, that's a brilliant question you've asked me, because it's bringing so many thoughts to me. Just the last thing I'll say on that is that I don't think it's my job to provide that support for those kids. Where I see my role is to introduce them to nature as their support. That's where I see my role, because nature ended up being my support. So my role is to say to these kids, hey, I don't have all the answers, but this might help you. That's my role in this, to create those access points to a free resource that is scientifically proven to be beneficial to the mental health as well as physical health. So yeah, thank you for asking that. That's a great question. I've been interviewed a lot and asked a lot of questions. I've never been asked that. That's really great. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Nadeem, all of a sudden you're out looking at the birds, and in the grass you see this thing shining at you. So you go down, you root in the grass, you pull it out, and it's a magic lamp.
Yeah.
And you've got all of the power. You've got 3 wishes to create the love of nature, the world you want. What are those 3 wishes, and what does it look like in 5 years' time?
That's a good question. I know the first wish straight away would be I want a national park. I want a national park, the first ever Black-owned national park in the history of this country, that's owned and run by Black and brown people and other marginalized communities, but open for all to enjoy. But I want to own a national park. That would be number 1 on my list. Number 2 would be that's another great question. I would wish for all of the ecological issues that we face in this country, probably in the world too. In the world, I wish for all the ecological problems in the world to be solved in a way that the harmony and balance of ecosystems remains intact. That would be my second wish. My third wish would be for West Ham to win the Premier League. That would be my third wish. I want
No, you are clearly talking rubbish there, aren't you?
Those would be my 3 wishes. And that's a good question as well. Those 3: own a national park, solve all of the ecological issues we face, and for West Ham to win the Premier League. Those would be my wishes.
Yeah. Okay. They are all tall orders. I mean, in case people don't know, the UK is one of the most nature depleted countries in the world. So, you know, we've got a lot of things that we need to work on and a lot of things to try and improve. Any final questions? And as we've just shown, you can ask anything. Any final questions? Anyone who's been quiet wants to join in?
I can now unmute, so it's not a question actually, but just a comment really, because so I'm part of a marine conservation group down in Cornwall, and we're very privileged to have like an amazing environment around us. We live right next to a beach, but there's actually a huge part of our community that either never access the beach or don't come to our events. We have the same kind of people from the community that come to our events, and we're really conscious of that, and we're trying to kind of expand and reach more members of our community. So a lot of what you said today really resonates, like things like they're already in the space, because a lot of them do use the beach, but they're not maybe thinking about some of the ecological impacts that we would. So actually meeting them at nature was one of the key things you said, which is a real takeaway for me. So thinking about like how we can do that more. So it's been really helpful. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Jen. I appreciate that, and I wish you luck on that. It sounds like you're doing good work out there.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Coolest bird you've seen in the last few months then, Nadeem?
Oh, well, I saw it yesterday in the Isle of Skye. It was the white-tailed eagle, the biggest bird of prey in the UK. It was fantastic. We were out. I was explaining to Ant before you guys all jumped on the call. I was on a trip with Talisker, the whiskey company, up in their distillery in the Isle of Skye in Scotland yesterday. And the purpose of the trip was to count the native Scottish oyster species, which is the European flat oyster, which has struggled historically because of the introduction of the invasive species, which is the Atlantic oyster, which is the one we all eat if you do eat oysters. But nobody thought that the native oysters existed in that part of Scotland until we arrived, basically, and we started counting them, and it was fantastic. And we were out on the low tide, setting out counting these oysters, and then I could just look on the other side, on the opposite shore, and I was like, guys, there's like 2 white-tailed eagles just there, and they were like, no way, they're not going to be just there. And I said, I have really nice binoculars. Do you want to have a look for yourself? Like, just have a look. And yeah, there they were, a pair of white-tailed eagles sifting through the mud, looking for crabs, I would assume. But yeah, that was definitely the coolest bird I've seen recently. It was fantastic. Really, really cool. Like, I could have gone home there and counted no oysters and been happy, but I did both.
Fantastic. Great. Some great pictures that you've created in our minds throughout the whole of this session, Nadeem. So thank you very much. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for doing what you're doing. And, you know, I hope at least 2 of your wishes come true. But as a Man United fan, I'm not going for the 3rd.
Yeah. West Ham and the National Park, isn't it?
There we go. Brilliant.
But no, thank you for having me, and thank you everybody for attending. And yeah, follow me on Instagram as well. It's @BirdNadeem. I'll put it in the chat right now. And yeah, I'm always down for chats, for collaborations, all of that stuff. There's an open line of communication to me. So yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Nadeem.
Fantastic. Thanks, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that. We will edit it down and we'll get it on YouTube so you can watch it again or share it with friends as well. And don't forget, we've got a load more sessions coming up. So the fact that you've been here means that we will email you links to the other sessions as well. So we've got, I did say to Nadeem, the head jog session is the one that's proving the most popular at the moment. So Nadeem has proved popular and has given us a fantastic session tonight, but he can't compete with those small little prickly.
I'm not cute enough. I'm not cute enough.
Exactly. Thanks very much, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.